Hello, everyone. Welcome to Start the Week with Spencer. This is our weekly webinar here at Doman International, where we take questions from parents with children with special needs all around the world. We always invite and encourage parents to join and ask us their biggest, their most important questions that they can't get answers to. Over the last 70 years, working with children with basically every kind of special need and neurodevelopmental delay, we have learned the answers to many, many questions. And so, please join. Whether you're watching right now on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, you can type your questions into the comments box and we will answer them in order. I'm joined here by Colleen Hudson, who is our Director of Representatives. Colleen is the first person to speak to new families that come to Doman International on the phone and answer their questions. Thanks for joining me, Colleen.
Glad to be here.
Perfect. Well, listen, we will start. We do have a pre-submitted question, so we'll jump into that first. And also, some parents have been asking recently about the Doman Method in schooling, so we'll talk a bit about that today. Now, maybe before we jump into that pre-submitted question, Colleen, what do we look like in terms of availability at our clinic? Do we have any appointments available in the next couple months?
Absolutely. So we're looking at March at this point, which is really good. I tell all of the families that I speak with, for us, 6 to 8 weeks is really the ideal length of time to help prepare. And that means you're not just sitting still, waiting for your appointment to happen. There's a lot of things that we do ahead of time, a lot of parent education that happens. Parents get the opportunity to begin asking questions of the staff about their child and how to start applying the Doman Method. So by the time they even get to us, whether it's a remote appointment or coming to see us in person, they really feel like they get to know the staff and they hit the ground running, which I think is a big advantage. So we do have appointments coming up. We will be in, well, I do like to tell everybody, even though these appointments are currently full, we are in New Zealand now. So if we have any families joining us from New Zealand or who know families in New Zealand who might have a child with special needs, we do go to the Southern Hemisphere. I think that's really exciting. So I like telling parents that. We will also be doing live evaluations, which are followed later in the week by remote programming and coaching in Miami at the end of February. So that's February 28th, I think.
Yeah,
maybe
right,
March 1st. Yeah. So in terms of appointments in Philadelphia, we have availability March 9th. We also still have one remote appointment available for that date. We are here March 16th. Again, one live appointment and a remote appointment available. Then we will be in Serbia March 23rd for, I think, 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's
right.
That's right.
Yeah, Serbia and Croatia. Mm-hmm.
Right. So we'll be in Belgrade. We'll be in Zagreb. So for families who are in that region, in the Balkans, that's a special trip for us. And then we have one appointment April 13th, and then we'll be in Italy again. And then we pick up again in May. So I guess the point is even though this is several months in the future now, we already do have waiting lists for some of these dates. So please, if you're thinking about it, get in touch with me sooner rather than later so we can start talking about the best timing for your family.
Wonderful. All right. So, Colleen, why don't we start with that first pre-submitted question?
Absolutely. So Dr. Barca has asked, how is this method different from regular physiotherapy?
Oh, okay. Very, very different. So interestingly, my grandfather, Glenn Doman, who founded the Doman Method, was a physical therapist himself. But actually, he found that things that he learned, this is back in the 1940s and 50s as a physical therapist, really weren't helping his patients. And the reason why his patients weren't being helped by the kind of traditional therapy approach was because he was working with people who had suffered brain injuries or who had neurodevelopmental delays. And unfortunately, the root cause problem for these patients is in the brain and in their brain development. If we look at children who have diagnoses like cerebral palsy or autism or ADD or ADHD or dyslexia, learning difficulties, all of these children or adults who have these diagnoses have a neurodevelopmental condition. And so many of the conventional therapies were not helping the patients. So what he started to do was started to research and create new treatments that directly targeted brain development and speeding brain development. And the human brain can develop thanks to a phenomenon called neuroplasticity. And so over time, as he created more and more treatments that helped the brain develop, his kind of system of programs became known as the Doman Method. He didn't call it that himself, but it was a name that was given to his program by families that he worked with, and specifically parents who had seen benefits in their own children. That's how the name Doman Method came about, and then our organization, which is Doman International. So when we look at regular physical therapy, very often the approaches there are symptom-focused approaches. So imagine for a second, a child has spasticity, maybe they have a cerebral palsy diagnosis, the physical therapist might do certain kinds of massage on the limbs and move those limbs. But of course, the problem actually isn't in the limbs, right? The child's lack of motor control is because the motor areas of the brain are underdeveloped or injured. And so what we do with the program is we do specific activities that target the areas of the brain that need to be developed. And the good news is when the brain starts developing, the symptoms that the child is dealing with start to reduce, and in some cases even disappear. So that's what the Doman Method is. It's a brain-focused approach. And when we focus on brain development, we start to see real results in the children. For some children, that's improved mobility, speech development. For some children who might be hyperactive, reducing that hyperactivity, improving behavior for kids who have behavioral issues, improving sensory abilities for children who have visual, auditory, or tactile issues. So yeah, that's what it's all about. The other thing I'll say is that physical therapy is a limited approach, not just in the sense it may not target the root cause issue, but it also just deals with one area of development, which is physical development. Our program is a holistic approach that, we don't just do a mobility program with children. We do cognitive development, we do nutrition, we do respiratory development. There's a whole area of our program called the oxygenation program, which is greatly helpful for brain development. So when we take that holistic approach, we get the best results in terms of brain growth and development. And so every child that comes to our clinic has a team of professionals that are monitoring the child's development, right? Creating the cognitive program, the physical program, nutrition, and so on. We have specialists in each of those areas. And that those team members also meet together to make sure that each child has the best customized program that the family can do each and every day with the child. Colleen, anything you want to add to that?
I'm sorry, I did have something in my mind and now it's gone. I like telling families about those early, what Glenn's motivation was in, wondering why, if all of these physiotherapy exercises that he had been trained to do were effective, why weren't they effective for everyone? And I think that that's still a big motivator for our staff, is finding the right fit for each individual, because there is no one size fits all. So we have to start with a thorough evaluation. We have to work directly with families so that we can get the best plan that's going to be practical, as well as targeting exactly what each child needs for themselves. That the diagnosis isn't really the point, it's or the label rather isn't really the point. It's more where are their greatest needs and targeting those areas.
Yeah, exactly right. Um, yeah, my grandfather, as an early physical therapist, actually said one of the turning points in his life and in his career was he was working with a family who had someone in the family had a stroke. And so he was working with the patient and kind of moving the arm back and forth because this person's mobility was greatly limited by the brain injury. And someone in the family said to him, they said, "Can I ask you a question?" He said, "Of course." And they said, "My understanding is the stroke was here in the brain. Is that right?" And he said, "Yes, that's right." And the family member said, "Okay, so if this stroke was here, why are you moving the arm back and forth?" And my grandfather, as a young physical therapist, quickly realized he didn't know the answer to that question. And so he gave the person an answer which kind of plagued him, like it haunted him for the rest of his life, which is, "Oh, you'd have to go to school for years to understand that." Right? That's what he told the person. "You have to go to school for years to know the answer to that." And but he knew deep down he didn't know the answer to that, right? And so that really haunted him, and he realized, no, I need to know why I'm doing things. And by the way, it's not that he didn't know because he wasn't a good student. He didn't know because he was never taught it, right? Because the things that he was taught to do actually weren't scientific. They had just been kind of, people had come up with it. And I'm not blaming those professionals, especially early on when there was such a limited understanding of how the brain developed. It makes sense. Okay, this person doesn't move their arm well. Let's move their arm back and forth and see what happens. The problem is it didn't get results because it didn't treat the root cause issue. Okay, well, we got a follow-up question, which I think is it's from Net on Instagram, which is a similar question, I think, which is, what exactly is the Doman method and what is the benefit? So I think we touched on a lot of that in my previous answer. Now, I will say that you're asking about the benefits. And, if you were to, both in our books and on our website, we publish our results of the Doman method. We're, as far as I know, one of the few methods around the world, maybe the only, that publicly publishes its results with every child who comes onto our program. So what we do is we look at all the children on our program and we look at, okay, what percentage of children on the Doman method learn to speak if they started nonverbal? What percentage of children who couldn't walk learn to walk on the program? What percentage of children learn to read? What percentage learn to write? What percentage go from not understanding language to understanding language? What group of children go from being chronically ill to being healthy for a full year, right? These are all statistics that we keep in our books. So you can see here, this is the first book that many parents read when they're learning about the Doman method. It's called The Doman Method from Special Needs to Wellness. You can find this on Amazon. It's written by my dad, Douglas, and myself. But in our books, we publish the results. So you can see here, this is toward the back of the book, page 215. We have the program success on the Advanced Doman program with the percentages of the results that are achieved on the program. And we're very proud of those results, right? We really keep statistics for two important reasons. The first is to demonstrate how the program is effective. And that's very important, of course, for parents and for professionals to know that the program is effective. The second reason why it's important is for us to continue working on improving our statistics, right? So, sometimes we'll initiate a new program, a new treatment with children, and we will see those statistics rise and we'll know, okay, this has been a wonderful addition. Or we've been doing this for 70 years. And there's even been a couple of times, it doesn't happen often, But there's even been a couple of times in those 70 years where a statistic might drop, and we'll say, hold on, what's happening here? How did we go from 59% to 56? Did we stop doing something before that was helpful? Maybe we need to go back to doing that. So it can work both ways. But it's a constant benchmark, a way of improving what we do. Once a very wise person said to me that you can only manage what you measure, right? You can only manage what you measure. If you're not measuring something, you really can't manage it because you don't really know where you stand with it, right? I mean, the most obvious example that almost anyone can associate with is like weighing ourselves, right? If you know how much you weigh, okay, you have an idea. Are you going up? Are you going down? Now you can manage. But if you have no idea, okay, maybe you can't. And so by measuring our statistics, it helps us with managing, okay, which of these statistics need to be improved? What have we been doing to change these statistics? Those are very, very valuable insights for us to have. And so we're very proud. I mean, that this is why over the last 70 years, more children have learned to walk, talk, read, write on the Doman method than any other treatment that exists. Because of some of the things we just said, we're brain focused, and we actually keep track of the results of the program. Okay, if you call up most therapy centers and you say, "Hey, I see you do physical therapy. What percentage of children on your treatment program learn to walk?" They'll probably look at you like you have two heads. Like, and the sad thing is, probably no one's even asked that to them before, because it's just something that in this field, unfortunately, there's such low expectations for helping children with special needs that these things aren't even discussed. And so, so it's very, very important to track results, and that's why we do it. Okay, and just to also mention for this parent who's very new to the Doman method, a couple of quick things that you can do to learn more. So I mentioned the book, The Doman Method from Special Needs to Wellness. You can also do a call with Colleen. Colleen can answer any questions that you have. I'll throw up Colleen's contact info net if you'd like to reach out to Colleen. She's happy to answer any questions you have. You have the email address there, info@domaninternational.org, and then the WhatsApp and phone number there. It is a US phone number, so note the one at the start of it if you're outside the US. So those are great ways. You could go to our website, also domaninternational.org, and read about what we're doing there. Colleen, anything else you'd like to add to that?
I just always like to tell families that info@Doman International is actually my direct email. So if you send an email to me there, it's me. So,
okay, great.
Yeah. And parents can also message us through our social media if that's easier.
Got it. Yeah, we have just a comment here, Colleen, from Valencio's family, who on Instagram they're writing, "Hi, Spencer and Colleen. We are now in Italy with Valencia. They're at our Italian center there."
Hi, Lydia.
Welcome. Yeah, great.
I'm so glad you're there. That's great.
All right, we've got a question here from Ella. Ella says, "I would like to start my 5-month-old with Down syndrome on his reading program. Obviously, he doesn't know many words. Should I start first with showing simple bits of intelligence like foot, nose, house, sunflower, etc., before I show him these words in written form? When do I know his sight is ready for showing really quickly?" Great questions. I'll start with the last question first, Ella, and then work my way backwards, because the first question is, how do you know his sight is ready for the reading part of the program? When a child is able to see detail, they are ready to start the reading program. Now, what does that mean? First of all, the child has to be able to respond to facial expressions. So, for example, if you sit across from your 5-month-old and you smile, like put a big smile on your face, will your 5-month-old smile back? Now, it's very important for me to say here that you shouldn't make any sound. When you're doing this as an evaluation, don't make sound, because some parents will smile and go, hey, how are you? Hi. And even a child who may not see detail well might, based on the voice, smile back. So that's why when you're now, of course, in a normal day, you should smile and talk to your baby. What I'm just saying is, to evaluate it, you just kind of sit, across from your child, maybe they're on your lap, and you give them a big smile without making a single sound, and you see, does he smile back? That's the most important indicator of a child seeing detail. The second is, can the child recognize you as a mom, or can they recognize parents as compared to strangers? So for example, if your 5-month-old saw me and dad next to one another, would the baby know, oh, that's dad or grandpapa or whoever, and that's a stranger I've never seen before, right? And usually you can see that based on their facial expressions. They want to go to the family member maybe, and the stranger they're a little bit more wary about. So now, of course, kids have different personalities, but usually you can tell based on their facial expressions, they're excited to see their favorite people. So if a baby is able to do those two things, respond to facial expressions and recognize the people closest to them, they're ready to start with the reading part of the program. Now, to answer your second question, with the reading program now, we almost always show, especially with young children, show picture cards along with the word cards. So we'll show a picture, for example, of an elephant, and then show the word elephant. And this is a great way to increase a child's understanding and improve their interest as well. So, just to give you one example, these just happen to be the cards that I have next to me right now. This is a picture of a puma. So we'd show the child the picture of the puma, and then we'd show the word puma, right? So we show the picture card first so that the child hears it. You say puma, right? And they see the picture. And now the child has learned something new. And then you show them the word puma, and you say puma, right? And now they can associate the word with the picture of the thing that they've learned. Again, kids love images. They love to learn with them. So it's a great way to teach them new things. Let's see, I've got other cards here that I could show. I've got a set here of different animals and different vegetables. Here, this is just from a set of foods. So we have here, for example, this is cauliflower, right? And then the word cauliflower. Just to let you know, Ella, we have made these materials. If you go to domanlearning.com, we have picture cards and word cards that you can download and print at home. It'll just save you a lot of time. So yeah, you're absolutely welcome to get any materials there. I'm putting a coupon code in if you buy any of the materials at domanlearning.com, if you just put in the coupon code DomanParent50 at the checkout, you'll get 50% off. And Ella's just sent a follow-up question. Do we show words on huge poster boards like in the 80s, or an A4 format is okay? A4 format is okay. Yeah, exactly. Ella, as long as your 5-month-old has the two abilities that I mentioned before in terms of vision, it's absolutely fine. And we've made the words large and red, so it's easy for babies to see.
And Ella will be coming to see us in Italy in July.
Oh,
they
perfect.
Have an appointment confirmed, yes.
Great. Yeah, and I think, Ella, it would be really nice to, especially because you're coming for an appointment to see us in about 6 months, it's probably nice at some point to start the reading part of the program, because even if you just started and showed a few sets of pictures and words, when you come to the appointment, you'll be able to give us very valuable feedback about how it went. Even when a parent comes in and says, oh, my child is loving the pictures and words, that's very helpful for our staff to know, okay, now that's important piece of information to have when crafting the cognitive program. Or if this is very rare, I don't expect this, but if a parent ever comes in and says, we've started a category of pictures and words and my child's not interested, that for us is, okay, let's figure out why that is, right? Now that we're in the same room as you, we can, do some troubleshooting and figure out why it's not going the way it should be going. So it's really valuable to come into our clinic already having given some things a start. Good questions. All right. I think we've answered all the questions so far. So again, if you are joining a bit late, we take questions on this webinar each week from parents from around the world. So, go ahead, whether you're following this right now on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, type your questions into the comments box and we will get to them in order. All right. We've got a question here. Ella has a follow-up here. I was thinking about doing a small program because we are very busy with physical, but consistent really every day. Yeah. It would be better to start something which is small but consistent. For example, even if you started with something like one category of pictures and words, where you're showing the picture cards and the word cards, just one group, and you did that 3 times in a day, that would be a great way to get started. And keep in mind, the sessions, these teaching sessions are incredibly short. They're about 5 to 10 seconds for each session. So the sessions are very short. It's more about, you just have to make sure that you're, organizing yourself to get those 3 showings in a day. You also mentioned you're doing like a Doman physical program. This is a great reward. Like, I can't tell you how many times, when a baby is learning to crawl, I've seen them, like a mom put the baby down, maybe they're crawling on our crawling track, and the mom will kind of stay at the bottom of the track with the cards and say, all right, come down. And when you get down here, we'll look at your cards. And the baby is excited because they know that they're going to get a really fun treat at the end of their effort in terms of moving. So the cognitive part of our program is often used as a reward to motivate children for the physical part of the program. All right. Well, we had while I'm waiting for other questions, we have gotten some questions recently from parents asking us about the Doman method and schooling. And sometimes these are parents who might have heard things from other parents or read something online, and they're like, wait, do I have to remove my child from school to go to the Doman International Clinic? Is that a requirement? And the answer is absolutely not. You don't have to remove your child from school, before coming to Doman International's clinic to come for an appointment. We have some families that join our program where children are homeschooled, and we have some parents who come for their first appointment and the child is in school part-time or even sometimes full-time. The most important thing when you come to our clinic is is for us to evaluate your child and then for our team to create a customized program. And we will create a customized program based on what your schedule and the child schedule is. So I was recently talking to a family, and they happen to have a young adult, actually. They actually have a 20-year-old. And so they said, listen, he has certain things he's doing during the day in terms of his schooling, and he might only be available, in afternoons, for example. We said, that's absolutely fine. We'll create a customized program for him that you can do in the afternoons. One thing I didn't mention before when I was answering Net's question, when she asked about like, what is the Doman method, what makes it kind of different, is that we work hand in hand with families, right? So when we evaluate a child, our team creates a customized program and then we teach it to the family, right? Because no one is with a child more than their family. And so by teaching them the different things that they can do at home, it's the best way to get the treatment done consistently. No one loves a child more than their parents. No one's more committed to their child than parents. And so, with the knowledge that we have and the great experience combined with the incredible determination of parents, we get really, really amazing results with children. And so, going back to schooling, we will work with families to create the best possible scenario for the children. And some families come to us and they say, you know what, we you know we want to continue with some school, and we say okay. And then sometimes those very same families, when they see the results of the program, some of those families will even say, you know what, we feel confident now in taking some time off of school and doing the program more consistently with our child because we're seeing such great results. We want to be able to focus more time on doing the program with our child. And so our team has been working with families, as I said, for decades. We have a wealth of experience with children from 80 different countries and all different kinds of schooling schedules, and so we can work with families to make a program that works for them. Colleen, anything you'd like to add to that?
Um, yes, I know that some families live in countries where school is compulsory, and we have experience working with that too. So I think it's important for parents to recognize that. If you're looking at our program and saying we can never ever choose to not send our child to school, we can still help you. So please don't hesitate.
Yeah, I recently got, 2 weeks ago, I was reached out to by a family with a 22-year-old, and he had been on our program and graduated from our program. And what's pretty remarkable about this kid, so I was his staff coach during, I think he was on the Doman Method for about 18 months. He started when maybe he was 11 years old, something around that, and he had learning difficulties, reading and math problems, writing problems. He had a lot of difficulty in focusing in a classroom setting, ADD kind of diagnosis. And so now he's 22, and the dad was reaching out to me just to say he's doing great. He's in university, he's successful, thanks so much to the program. But the remarkable thing about this young man, boy, when he was on our program, is that, first of all, he went to school while he was on the program, because parents, it was compulsory. And the other remarkable thing is that this family happened to only do remote appointments. So here, this child graduated from the Doman Method. I've never been in the same room as the child. The family just did the treatments that were taught to them via remote appointment. Now, I always say to parents, if it's possible for you to come to one of our international locations, come and see us in Philadelphia at our headquarters, or if you're in Europe, at our institute in Pisa, Italy, come to our clinic if you can. Let us see your child. That's always ideal. And there's just something special about being in the same room at the same time. But we've now had children graduate from our program, especially after the COVID era, who we've never been in the same room as them before. This family, for example, is from, I think, Malaysia, and never, and we have, of course, they are, we're very close because of everything that the family went through and all the hard work they put into the program and the great results that they achieved. But it's just remarkable that, we've never met in person.
Incredible. I think that really, sorry, I just wanted to say, I think that really speaks also to the fact that while our staff are experts in the Doman Method and are tremendously skilled at guiding families, the truth is that the parents are the experts in their kids. And when, we have a lot of information to share. So it's, even if you're looking at this and saying, well, I'm not even sure that I can get there, is that really going to benefit my kid? Clearly, it can, because we teach you, and then you're carrying everything out at home, and it's a very powerful, setup.
Yeah. Well, Ella's asking another interesting question here, which is what advice do you have for a baby who's absolutely terrified of water, so much so that I don't bathe him? Okay, well, Ella, I can't say that I have a lot of experience with dealing with fears with infants. I do deal, of course, with and at our clinic, we often deal with older children who have different kinds of fears of toilet training and swimming and animals and so many different things. So I can't. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in terms of this, but I'll give you some general thoughts. Okay, so the first thing would be, okay, why is he fearful? Is it something about the sensory experience? Like it feels scary to him? Is it something about the sound in the room that he's in with the water? So is it a sensory issue? Um, is it just the fear of doing something new that he doesn't quite understand? Did he have some kind of bad experience where he slipped once and got scared from it? Those are important things and it's very possible you have no idea, but that is something that I would be thinking about. My first approach would be actually the way I speak to the baby about what is going on. So, because a lot of the time, babies and young children, when they're nervous about something, right, and it's hard for them to regulate how they feel, they, very much look to the adults around them to know what's going on. So I would do a lot of speaking to the baby in advance of what's going to happen, saying, all right, we're going to be going, taking your bath in 15 minutes. Oh, let's go into the bathroom. Let's check the water. Oh, that sounds warm. Yeah, it feels warm. And, you put your maybe a little bit of his foot in there, so you just talk to the baby about it, because for very often with young children, because something is new and for that reason scary to them, even if they don't fully understand what you're telling them, if you're telling them it's okay and you've got it handled, for many children that puts them at ease. The second thing that I would do is all about intensity level, right? So for many children, when they find something scary, if you kind of just maybe put him in the bath and he's submerged in a lot of water and maybe it's just too intense a situation for him. So I would try to start with a very low intensity in terms of water and kind of build him up to it. So maybe you just start with doing some tactile stimulation with a wet washcloth, where you're just brushing his body with a wet washcloth. Get him used to that. And by the way, if it is some kind of tactile oversensitivity, that alone might really help address the issue. And then, maybe once he starts getting to that, used to that sensation of being wet, he might be more comfortable with something like bath. There might also be things like, is he a little like overly sensitive to temperature? That's something to take into account. Sometimes you do have to try different kinds of temperatures to find, a child might find something cold that you don't find cold, or hot that you don't find hot. So keep that in mind. But I would think tactile stimulation would do a lot of good. And then even when you're starting with water, for example, you may want to see is there a level of comfort that your baby would have in terms of water. So let me give an example. Like if you had a small like little basin of water and you dipped your baby's feet in and the water was nice and warm and comfortable, would he be comfortable with that? If he's comfortable with that, then I would recommend, that's a low intensity, right? I was talking about intensity before. Maybe submerging the whole body is too intense, but maybe if you put the feet in, that's not so intense. But then you can do that frequently during the day, right? So maybe 3 times a day you go and dip his feet into the water and he's comfortable with that. Okay, now we're going to dip up to the knee. Okay. And so you're keeping low intensity, but you're doing it frequently during the day. These are things that, these are just kind of general practices when a child is fearful of helping them through it. One common issue, sometimes when children show fear about things, parents have a very natural inclination where, let me give an example. Mom and child are walking down the street, and there's a dog that's walking up the street, and the child sees the dog, and the child starts to freak out, like, oh, because it looks scary to them. And parent does something which is intuitive, maybe, where they pick the baby up or the child up and they walk across the street because the child is scared, right? And what the parent has just done inadvertently is reaffirm the fear, because what the child learns from that is, oh, I was scared of the dog. Mom picked me up and took me away from the dog, so the dog must be scary, right? Mom protected me from the dog, so dog is bad, right? And I use the dog as an example because it's something which is so common. So you have to strike a balance between you don't want to just take your child away from a situation just because they're a bit scared, but rather you want to teach your child, I'm here with you, we're safe, by the way you talk to them, and then just reduce the intensity level. So with the example of the dog, maybe instead of picking your child up and going across the street, you would say, okay, like, let's give the dog a little bit of space, and I'll walk holding your hand, right? And then over time, you say, okay, now we can walk a little closer to the dog, a little closer, and the child over time starts to feel more and more comfortable. Okay, but yeah, you don't want to just completely remove something, because then the child actually associates it with a scary thing. Good question. It's a general thing. Anxieties and children with neurodevelopmental delays tend to be more likely to have fears and anxieties around things because a part of the nervous system is the vagus nerve, which controls our fight or flight response. So they sometimes have elevated fight or flight responses, so it is important to know how to handle these kinds of things. All right, everyone. Well, we still have a few more minutes. If anyone else has questions, again, if you're following right now on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, go ahead and type your questions into the comments and we will get to them. And just to review quickly about some of the upcoming trips that Doman International is doing. So in February, we're sending staff, Colleen mentioned this at the very beginning of the session, to New Zealand. So we're doing appointments in New Zealand and also in Miami, Florida. So if you happen to be in Florida or Latin America and want to be seen in Miami, we have that availability. Here in Philadelphia, we have our headquarters. Colleen, you mentioned some available dates, but I didn't write them down.
Oh, yes. So we've got March 9th is wide open, actually. I do like to tell families, never hesitate to ask about a date that you have in mind. Our appointments are typically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. An initial appointment is 3 days. So, even if you don't hear us mention a date and you're thinking about it, ask me, because we may just have skipped it for some reason. Or we may have a waiting list. And if you're the first person on the waiting list, it's entirely possible that you'll get, bumped onto the to be seen list. But we do have a certain number of slots each week. And the reason for that, as I tell families, is we want to make sure that we have enough time to spend with each new family, particularly new families. Every week we have families coming back for subsequent appointments as well, but those are on a slightly different schedule. So our initial families get a tremendous amount of time with the staff. We never want any parent to feel like they were rushed through their appointment, because this is the beginning of a long-term relationship with you, and we want to have you set up for success. So even though you're going to go home and have continuous support and follow-up from your staff coach, when you're with us, it's a really special time. So that's why sometimes families will say, oh, how could that already be scheduled? Because we have a few spots, but we can always put you on the waiting list or plan for the following week or the following month. Yeah, exactly. So March 9th is wide open. March 16th, we have one spot available. In April, we have, sorry, I closed my window. I believe we have, April's an interesting month too because of our um, follow up from Serbia and, just our travel schedule. So that's the other thing. If you're in the Balkans, come and see us in the Balkans, which is great. um, yeah, I
Yeah.
think April 13th.
Yeah. April 13th.
I believe so, yes.
April 13th in Philadelphia. Okay. And then we do, of course, have remote appointments available
Yes.
for people who aren't able to travel. And then in May, we are going to have appointments in Bangalore and New Delhi, India, and also in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. So if you're interested in coming and seeing us in any of those places, please reach out to Colleen at the emails or the numbers that we've posted.
Oh, I also want to say for anybody who is joining us today who is still just confused about how this all works, what it is, and maybe isn't quite ready to hop on a phone call with me, although there's no obligation and I'm happy to answer questions. We do have a recording of a webinar that we gave last year called Is the Doman Method Right for My Family? It's about an hour long. It has a Q&A at the end. It is a terrific encapsulation of what the fundamentals of the Doman method are, how it can work for different kids, different families. If you suspect that you might be a good candidate for the Doman method, I'd say go with your gut, because if you're interested, then that means you're probably a good candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can always furnish that webinar for families who aren't yet ready to hop on a call, and you can watch that, and then we can follow up with questions. I do that a lot. So yeah, just don't hesitate to reach out. We're very happy to provide as much information as you need, because we've been doing this for 70 years, so we've got a lot of experience to share.
Wonderful. Yeah. And so, yeah, just reach out to Colleen via email or phone and just say, even if you're not comfortable getting on the call, she'll send you those links for that webinar. Of course, I advise you do talk to Colleen on the phone, but even if you're not ready for it, she'll send that info to you. All right. Well, I think we are all out of questions. Everyone, thanks so much for joining. Next, I'm not sure if it's next week or the following week, but Colleen, I'm not sure if I've told you this, but I'm going to be doing a toilet training special episode.
It's the following week. I saw that on our schedule. Yeah,
February
fabulous.
9th. February 9th. Yeah.
February 9th.
Yeah, I'm going to have someone named Annie Adamson, who actually I became acquainted with because she does our program with her children. And she is a mom of, I think, 4 kids. But she's also a toilet training coach. And so I found some of the recommendations she has very helpful for the kids that we work with. Because, some children with special needs, are not toilet trained, by 4, 5, 10 years of age. I've seen teenagers and even adults who aren't. And so some of her recommendations have been incredibly helpful for our families. So I'll have her on February 9th. I'll ask her questions, but also parents can join as well and also ask their questions. And she deals with, children from birth all the way up to, any age. So please make sure don't miss the February 9th episode.
Yeah, that's one of those things that's a real game changer for a kid's quality of life and also family.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the powerful things about toilet training is that, and this shouldn't have surprised me based on all my other experience with child development, but the earlier you start, the easier it is. And that shouldn't have surprised me, but we've been fed a lot of nonsense about what it means to be ready for toilet training, like what's training readiness for a child. And so I'll be talking with Annie about that. Unfortunately, I wasn't even aware of this, but a lot of this has been manipulated by diaper companies who it's very lucrative for them to, to keep children on diapers for as long as possible. So they've made sure to kind of increase professional awareness about like, what does it mean for a child to be ready for toilet training when, many babies and children can be toilet trained by, 10 to 12 months easily if the parent knows what to do. So I'm really excited for that conversation. It's an area of I never thought I would be incredibly interested in, but when I started talking to Annie, I realized, oh wow, there's a lot of important knowledge here. So yeah, make sure to join for that episode.
Wonderful.
All right, everyone, thanks so much for joining. Have a great rest of your week.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.